creators and subscribers, I just wanted to thank you all for tuning into my video. Today we're going to be going through Masonic numbers and their meanings. So let's begin. 3 senses. Of the 5 human senses, the 3, which are the most important in Masonic symbolism, are seeing, hearing, and feeling because of their respective reference to certain modes of recognition, and because by their use Freemasons are enabled to practice that universal language, the profession of which is the boast of the order. 4 is the tetrad, or quaternary, of the Pythagoreans, and it is a sacred number in the advanced degrees. The Pythagoreans called it a perfect number, and hence it has been adopted as a sacred number in the degree of perfect master. In many nations of antiquity, the name of God consists of 4 letters, as the Aded of the Syrians, the Amon of the Egyptians, the Ethos of the Greeks, and the Dues of the Romans, and preeminently the Tetragrammaton, or 4-lettered name of the Jews. But in symbolic Freemasonry, this number has no special significance. 5. Among the Pythagoreans, 5 was a mystical number because it was formed by the union of the first even number and the first odd number, rejecting unity. Hence it symbolized the mixed conditions of order and disorder, happiness and misfortune, life and death. The same union of the odd and even, or male and female numbers, made it the symbol of marriage. Among the Greeks, it was a symbol of the world because it represented ether and the 4 elements. It was a sacred round number among the Hebrews. In Egypt, India, and other Oriental nations, the 5 minor planets and the 5 elementary powers were counted sacred. It was the symbol of their quintessential, the 5th and highest essence of power in a natural body. In Freemasonry, 5 is a sacred number, inferior only in importance to 3 and 7. It is especially significant in the fellow crafts degree, where 5 are required to hold a lodge, and where, in the winding stairs, the 5 steps are referred to the orders of architecture and the human senses. In the 3rd degree, we find the reference of 5 points of fellowship and their symbol, the 5-pointed star. Geometry, too, which is deemed synonymous with Freemasonry, is called the 5th science, and, in fact, throughout nearly all the degrees of Freemasonry, we find abundant allusions to 5 as a sacred and mystical number. 5-pointed star. The 5-pointed star, which is not to be confounded with the blazing star, is not found among the old symbols of Freemasonry. Indeed, some writers have denied that it is a Masonic emblem at all. It is undoubtedly of recent origin and was probably introduced by Jeremy Cross, who placed it among the plates in the emblems of the 3rd degree prefix to his hieroglyphic chart. It is not mentioned in the ritual of the lecture of the 3rd degree, but the Freemasons of the United States have, by consent, referred to it as a symbol of the 5 points of fellowship. The outlines of the 5-pointed star are the same as those of Pythagoras, which was the symbol of health. M. Jambard, in his description of de l'Egypte on page 423, says that the star engraved on the Egyptian monuments is very common as a hieroglyphic and has constantly 5 points, never more nor less. 8. Among the Pythagoreans, the number 8 was esteemed as the first cube, being formed by the continued multiplication of 2 by 2 by 2, and significant as friendship, prudence, counsel, and justice, and as the cube or reduplication of the first even number. It was made to refer to the primitive law of nature, which supposes all men to be equal. Christian numerical symbologists have called it the symbol of resurrection because Jesus rose on the 8th day, that is, the day after the 7th, and because the name of Jesus in Greek numerals correspond to its Greek letters is 10, 8, 200, 70, 400, 200, which being added up is 888 or 188. Hence, too, they call it the perfect number, as 8 persons were saved in the ark. Those who, like Faber, who adopted the theory that the ark rites pervaded all the religions of antiquity, find important symbolism in this number, and as Noah was the type of person, they again found it in a reference to that doctrine. It can, however, be sacredly recognized among the numerical symbols of Freemasonry. 9. If the number 3 was celebrated among the ancient sages, that of 3 times 3 had no less celebrity, because, according to them, each of the 3 elements which constituted our bodies is ternary. No one of these 3 elements being entirely separated from the others, all material beings composed of these 3 elements, whereof each is triple, may be designated by the figurative number of 3 times 3, which has become the symbol of all formations of bodies. Hence the name of the 9th envelope given to matter. Every material extension, every circular line, has for its representative sign the number 9 among the Pythagoreans, who had observed the property which this number possesses of reproducing itself incessantly and entire in every multiplication, thus offering to the mind a very striking emblem of matter, which is instantly composed before our eyes, after having undergone 1,000 decompositions. The number 9 was consecrated to the spheres and the muses. It is the sign of every circumference, because a circle, or 360 degrees, is equal to 9. That is to say, 3 plus 6 plus 0 equals 9. Nevertheless, the ancients regarded this number with a sort of terror. They considered it a bad prestige, as the symbol of versatility, of change, and the emblem of frailty of human affairs. Wherefore they avoided all numbers where 9 appears, and chiefly 81, the product of 9 multiplied by itself, and the addition whereof 8 plus 1 again represents the number 9. As the figure of number 6 was the symbol of terrestrial globe, animated by a divine spirit, the figure of the number 9 symbolized the earth under the influence of the evil principle. Hence the terror it inspired. Nevertheless, according to the Kabbalists, the character 9 symbolized the generative egg and the image of a little global being, from whose lower side seems to flow its spirit of life. It is considered the first square of unequal numbers. Everyone is aware of the singular properties of the number 9, which multiplied by itself and any other number, whatever, gives a result whose final sum is always 9, or always divisible by 9. 9 multiplied by each of the ordinary numbers produces a progression, each member whereof composed 2 figures, and presents a remarkable fact. 11. In the Prestonian lectures, 11 was a mystical number, and was the final series of steps in the winding stairs of the fellow craft, which were said to consist of 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11. The 11 was referred to the 11 apostles after the defection of Judas, and to the 11 sons of Jacob after Joseph went into Egypt. But when the lectures were revived by Heine, the 11 was struck out. In Templar Freemasonry, however, 11 is still significant as being the constitutional number required to open a commandatory power. And here is evidently elusive of the 11 true disciples. 12. 12 being composed of the mystical numbers 7 plus 5, or of 3 times 4. The triad, multiplied by the quaternarian, was a number of considerable value in ancient times. Thus, there was 12 signs of the zodiac, 12 months in the year, 12 tribes of Israel, 12 stones, and 12 ox supporting the molten sea in the temple. There were 12 apostles in the new law, And the New Jerusalem has 12 gates, 12 foundations, 12,000 4-long squares. And the number of the seal is 12 times 12,000. Even the pagans respected this number, for in their mythology, 12 superior and 12 inferior gods. 14. It is only necessary to remind the well-informed Freemason of the 14 days of the burial mentioned in the legend of the third degree. Now, this period of 14 was not, in the opinion of Masonic symbolists, an arbitrary selection, but was indeed to refer to or symbolize the 14 days of lunar darkness, or decreasing light, which intervene between the full moon and its continued decrease until the end of the lunar month. In the Egyptian mysteries, the body of Osiris is said to have been cut into 14 pieces and thrown into the Nile. The body of Osiris was cut into 14 pieces, that is, into as many parts as there are days between the full moon. The moon, at the end of the 14 days, enters Taurus and becomes united to the sun, for whom she collects fire upon her disk during the 14 days which follow. She is then found every month in conjunction with him in the superior parts of the signs. The year finishes at the moment when the sun and moon are found united with Orion, or the stars of Orion, a constellation placed under Taurus, which unites itself in the spring. The moon renews herself in Taurus, and a few days afterward it is seen in the form of a crescent in the following sign, that is Gemini, the home of Mercury. Then Orion, united to the sun in the attitude of a formidable warrior, Scorpion, his rival into the shades of night, for he sets every time Orion appears above the horizon. The day becomes lengthened, and the germs of evil are by degrees destroyed. It is thus that the poet Non Nous pictured us conquering at the end of winter. Wizen the sun arrives in Taurus, and when Orion mounts into the heavens with him. 15. A sacred number, symbolic of the name of God, because the letters of the holy name Yod He Jah are equal in the Hebrew mode of numeration by letters of the alphabet to 15. Yod is equal to 10, E is equal to 5, hence from veneration for this sacred name, the Hebrews do not, in ordinary ways, do not wish to express the number 15, and they make use of the two letters, but of the two others, which are equivalent to 9 and 6. 21. A number of mystical importance, partly because it is the product of 3 and 7, the most sacred of the odd numbers, but especially because it is the sum of the numeric value of the letters of the divine name. 5 plus 10 plus 5 plus 1 equals 21. It is little valued in Freemasonry, but it is deemed of great importance in the Kabbalah and in alchemy. In the latter, because it refers to the 21 days of distillation necessary for the conversion of the grosser metals into silver. 26. This is considered by the Kabbalist as the most sacred of mystical numbers, because it is equal to the numeric value of the letters of the tetragrammaton. Thus 5 plus 6 plus 5 plus 10 equals 26. 27. Although the number 27 is found in the degree of Select Master, and in some of the other advancing degrees, it can be sacredly called in itself a sacred number. It derives its importance from the fact that it is produced by the multiplication of the square of 3 by 3, thus 3 times 3 times 3 equals 27. 36. In the Pythagorean doctrine of numbers, 36 symbolized the male and female powers of nature united, because it is composed of the sum of the four odd numbers 1 plus 3 plus 5 plus 7 equals 16, added to the sum of the four even numbers 2 plus 4 plus 6 plus 8, which equals 20. for 16 plus 20 equals 36. It is, however, no place among the sacred numbers of Freemasonry. 40. The multiple of two perfect numbers, 4 and 10. This was deemed a sacred number, as commemorating many events of religious significance, some of which are as follows: the alleged period of probation of our first parents in Eden, the continuous deluge of 40 days and nights, and the same number of days in which the matter remained upon the face of the earth. The Lenten season of 40 days fast observed by Christians, with reference to the fast of Jesus in the wilderness, and by the Hebrews to the earliest desert fast for a similar period. Of the 40 years spent in the desert by Moses and Elijah and the Israelites, which succeeded the concealment of Moses, and the same number of years in the land of Midian. Moses was 40 days and nights on the mount. The days of embalming the dead were 40. The 40 years of the reign of Saul, of David, and of Solomon. The 40 days of grace allotted to Nineveh for repentance. The 40 days fast before Christmas in the Greek church, as well as being the number of days mourning in Assyria and in Egypt to commemorate the death and burial of their sun god, and as well the period in the festivals of which resurrection of Adonis and Osiris. The period of 40 days thus being a bond by which the whole world, ancient and modern, pagan, Jewish, and Christian, is united in religious sympathy. Hence, it was determined as the period of mourning by the Supreme Council of the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite of the Northern Jurisdiction in the United States of America. 81. A sacred number in the advanced degrees because it is the square of 9, which is again the square of 3. The Pythagoreans, however, who considered the 9 as a fatal number, and especially dreaded 81, because it was produced by the multiplication of 9 by itself. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for tuning into my video. If you enjoyed what you saw, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And you have a good afternoon or evening.